So, Mr. Bhadram, thank you very much for allowing us to interview you today. And this interview is being done by Amrita University for its students and also youth at large in India. So, I hope that students get to enjoy it.
Yeah, so. Thank you for choosing me to pass some message to the students. So, I hope we'll be able to come up with something that is helpul to the youth finally.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, where were you born?
I was born in a small town in Andhra Pradesh called Tuni. Tuni is a small town. Maybe when I was born to the village, almost like a small village sort of a thing.
How far is it from Hyderabad?
About 600 kilometers.
And if you remember the times that you were growing up and the first few years, you're in a magnificent position right now. It's a very responsible position in an amazingly great company. But I presume in your younger years that was not what you wanted or thought about. How did you spend your first few years? What were you doing?
When we were young boys, the education started mostly at home. Only after 5th, 6th year you go to school and the local municipal schools, where you're taught in Telugu, local language. You will not have even benches to sit. Either you sit under a tree or, sometimes in a small classroom, and mostly verbal. Somebody gives you something and then you repeat it, the whole class repeats it in that small environment. But a lot of education used to happen at home. You have grandfather, mother, grandfather's mother, that sort of a extended family. So every one of them teach you something. Somebody teaches you mythology, somebody teaches you moral science, Mother is always wanting to study ABCD, they were fascinated by English at that time. So the whole extended family is education in itself. What you learn in class and what you learn at home is almost equal,
Do you remember one thing that really struck to you about what you learned at home?
There's nothing like this is my income and this my children only will take it. If my father has income, it is for everybody. The extended family, his brothers, my mother's side, her brothers, ourselves. So there is nothing like yours, it is everything ours. It is a sort of concept of sharing whatever we have as a common thing, irrespective of who earns more or who earns less. That struck me most when we were growing up. Sometimes we used to have the same sort of facilities, though my father was earning much better at that time as compared to my chacha's children. The concept of sharing, concept of common ownership strikes very well. That was the learning, really learning.
And if you reflect back on after that period when you started school and had to study quite a bit, let's say until +2 or that age, was there a subject that really appealed to you?
I was really fascinated with social sciences. I really don't know why, but I used to like learning about, the kingdoms, what they were doing, or the political freedom struggle, political leadership, what was they doing. I was generally fascinated by that, and I was not really fascinated with mathematics at that point in time. So I used to avoid mathematics and try and do this. And I was fascinated with Telugu poetry. I was in Telugu is the local language here. So Telugu poetry I used to learn a little. Mythology was one route because of your grandparents keep telling you mythological stories. So I was a little linked to that. So the historical events used to interest me a lot.
And if you think back on that time, when school was there was a repetition, and I'm sure much more. But if you had a passion like this, could you do it and also do well in school, or was it one versus the other?
One versus the other.
But you took the chance. You said, I want to learn about social science, I want to learn about the world, and I want to do it.
Yeah, but what happens, the schooling system is here, you have to learn all the subjects. There's nothing like, the whole education system was what job you will get at the end of the plus 16, after graduation. So the social pressure is always, at a younger age you don't realize it. As you grow up to +2 level you will realize it. Whether my son will become an engineer or a doctor, these are the chosen professions. So you migrate to some of those fancy subjects and professions and leave the social science. So I did the same way. Passion was there, but you move into the sciences.
But then Telugu poetry, social sciences, mythology, it seems like a dream, I mean, a very good way to learn about the world and about life.
Yeah, but I continue to hold interest now, see the plays, or read the books, Telugu literature. I continue to hold interest, but at the same time, your operational responsibilities take most of the time.
Well, let me ask you, if your father and mother give you enough at your house, and you don't have to worry too much about food on the table, why have an ambition to go to engineering school and all those difficult subjects? Why not just stay in something that is quite simple so you can have a relaxed life?
Let me put one more context here possibly. We were in an environment where the resources are very limited. We always were brought up under the deprivations, a little scarcity. Everything is a little scarcity. You have 100 rupee income and there is a 300 rupee expenditure in the extended family. So there is always you are not the this proverbial silver spoon in your mouth. You don't have that. So always that middle class struggle for existence was always there. So that could be one of the internal reasons to do well. You want to do well. You want to take care of your parents well. You don't want to go through the same difficult ends meet situation all the time. So this could be one of the important reasons why we try to do things that will give you better employment, better career, better education, instead of studying a BA in history and then pursue something like invest. So probably the economic reasons could be one of the reasons why we moved to sciences.
And once you did that and decided on that career track, was it easy? I mean, what did you have to do well?
Work hard. You see, I went into sciences and then went to study biology so that I became a doctor. Okay, so I had to master biology, physics, chemistry. So I did a lot of hard work, did well, but you missed the medicine seat by a few points. Okay, competition in India is so high for a medicine seat. We missed it. Then I realized maybe physics is the one which I couldn't do well. I may not be able to do well even if I try second time. So then I took a choice to move to agriculture.
Agriculture?
Yeah, I did my BSc graduation in agriculture. Okay. So I took corrective actions at every point, looking at my SWOT. What I can do, what I cannot do. Ambition is one, what you can do is another. And try and do whatever you do, try and do best possible in that. And then again move forward and see what are the options available. At every level I have seen. MBBS I couldn't get it, I joined agriculture. While finishing agriculture, I looked at either a MSc degree or a bank employment. I got into post-graduation in outside Andhra Pradesh. So I took that up because that will open up my vistas and personality. Otherwise, I was a timid rural boy. So I took the option to go there. Like that, I kept on improvising myself as I went forward.
I want to ask you, you're saying improvisation, I will say courage. It is very difficult to go break out of the mold and go to another area that there's no comfort there. It is all new. So somehow you felt at that young age that you could do that.
Yes, the only weapon we have is hard work and be at it and try your best. Put your best foot forward and then keep trying. In MSc, I went to a place where Hindi we couldn't speak. I went into agricultural economics, where again mathematics comes into play. I did well there. Then while finishing that, I could have done a PhD or I could have done an MBA. I chose MBA because my father was not doing very well health-wise. So he never wanted any one of us to go abroad. We are far away and then we missed it. So I said, okay, let's take MBA, which is a better option. So, again, struggle. But still everywhere because of hard work completed. If you ask me, I'm not brilliant by that mental faculty. We compensated that with pure hard work. I think that's an important thing I tell my children, but they don't seem to follow.
Can I ask you, what do you think is the difference? Because you have obviously succeeded, to a level that, frankly, most people are not going to get to, because it's a very, you've done a lot of things right, and you've also had the goodwill of God behind you. And yet you see young people that they see you as an example, and yet they don't want to imitate you. Why do you think that is?
In today's world, I should not look like preaching, but the ambition versus effort is a mismatch, number one. Number two, when I got into IIM Ahmedabad, the competition was much lower. Today, the competition is almost 20 times, 30 times more. So even if they want to sometimes emulate, the best of places are not available for the near best. You have to be the best of best to get to the best places. So that could be the reason why people settle for next. The effort is there, but the competition is more. The diversions are many for the today's youngsters. When I was studying, I have no diversion whatsoever. There is no internet, there is no color TV, not many clubs and parties, nothing. So today's children succeed in spite of this competition, in spite of the diversions, and in spite of not having to really aspire for a better life. They already have better life. Many, like my children, have much better life than what I could ever imagine. Possibly these three reasons, they may not be able to exactly emulate what they want to.
Isn't there something intrinsically satisfying that you woke up every day and you gave it what you had, and at the end of the day, no matter if it's success or failure, you go to sleep with a peace of mind? Why aren't kids striving for that? Because at its very nature, if you don't try, no matter what the situation is, something inside that is deep inside us must give a warning signal.
I'm not very sure how to answer this question. Today's youngsters are a little impatient for success. People like me went through a gradual route, step by step, we build the thing over a period of time. Maybe today's youngsters want to be a managing director tomorrow morning. So even if you are doing well, the level of dissatisfaction because somebody else has done better than you. Comparison could be the big bane of many people. If you do the gradual route, knowing your SWOT, then you are absolutely all right.
Was there someone in your schooling, some person that you recollect in all the schooling that you had, that struck you as a person that influenced you a great deal?
In schooling, one professor, one teacher, a small-time teacher. You see, in 8th class, in one examination, I got 28 marks in mathematics out of 100. Failed almost quarterly exam. Then I said, this is not on. Then the whole thing will collapse, and so I went to this teacher and requested him to help me. He said, if you come at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 to 6 I will teach you specially, 6 to 7 along with other students. So every day morning get up at 4:30, go to 5 o'clock on a bicycle, go to the teacher, and he used to be ready for me. That's the beauty of it. He used to be ready for me getting up at 4:30, 4 o'clock, and then he used to teach me. By the time I came to 10th standard, where there is public examination in India, I moved to 73 marks out of 100. It's not great, but at least better than failing the exam, So he left a little impression in terms of somebody who, if you are genuine in your pursuit of something, others will also take the equal interest, and he has nothing. We are maybe 5 rupees or so we are offering as monthly compensation, 5 or 10 rupees I remember, which is nothing. Nowadays my children don't even accept 10 rupee note. So small things. Does he influence my whole total career? May not be, but he leaves an indelible impression in your mind, somebody who helped you.
And now I'd like to transition into the work environment. So once you finished your schooling and you had to look at the practicals and go get a work that you would strive for, how did you make the transition from the schooling? Was there a transition from schooling to work, and how you behaved every day, what you had to do, and so on?
No, in IIM Ahmedabad, when you finish, you'll get a job, automatic. So that's the advantage of it. So I joined sales and marketing in agrochemicals. Not that we know how to work, actually, fresh out of college, no experience whatsoever. But you get godfathers. One Mr. Pandey was there, who was almost 30 years senior to me. So under his umbrella, how to come to office, how to come on time, some of the discipline people teach you. Come what may, 9 o'clock you have to be in office. Not that 9 to 5 you have work at that point, you just join. But the discipline, and then teach you every day, talking to him, how work situations happen, how to learn, So the transition has been made easy by some mentors, At every level, different types of mentors helped me. Some taught me how to be magnanimous in dealing with subordinates, much later in my career. Tough boss, but very magnanimous when it comes to dealing personal issues, compensation issues, but very tough boss. And some people taught you how to put organization above everything else. By sheer example of they doing it. Everything else afterwards, organization is first. So at every level, you have bosses to help with the transition. I moved from a functional role to by mistake. Why I'm saying this is, we commit mistakes in careers. Serious mistakes we commit in career. And how do we correct them and come forward is what one of the things I have learned actually. I was in a good sales job. I moved to staff job in Delhi, in a public sector, from private sector. And stuck there for 6 years. Couldn't get a job anywhere, and no great work atmosphere, no learning, nothing was happening. 6 years. Then from a big organization to the smallest organization I joined, just to take the break away from the public, that sort of a drudgery of no work actually. Then I moved to a bigger organization, moved from functional to a small SBU, heading a small SBU of 50 crores, which is small. But it helped me to move from functional, only a marketing man. In marketing also, I chose in such a way that I went into international marketing, so that my timidness went away, to outgoing and talking to people, how to dress well, how to behave, etiquette, all those things were taught there. Then went to a small SBU, did the job a little more, understanding finance in the job, Then from there, again, I moved to Paris in a functional role, but in a bigger role. A small SBU is like a supermarket. A supermarket may make more turnover than a small SBU. So I moved to a functional role. From there, again, moved to a profit role. Then from there, transition happened to move to Sabero as the board member, I went through the grind, made mistakes, couple of them, serious mistakes. But bosses correct, your own intuition tells you how to go about it. Try things which others don't want to do. I have done these things. I have actually done these things. Nobody wanted to do this small specialty nutrient division. I went and asked for it. When I joined Paris, nobody wants to work in pesticides SBU because it is small SBU. Even the management at top level, Mr. Valayan level, were not reviewing it sufficiently. They used to say, okay, good, well done. But I went and demanded review. I said, sir, you have to review me. Once they started reviewing me, then the expectations on them go up, and then they put higher expectations on me. They kept on performing. Once you do that, actually you have asked for trouble, but in the process we had a chance to prove ourselves and went forward. And as compared to my other colleagues who are in the bigger divisions, I'm the first one to become a whole-time director, ahead of others, because you chose those things. In a way, Kiran Bedi inspired. 5 years back, she came and talked to us. She inspired. Whichever department she was put in, she did best there. They put a punishment posting to her in Tihar jail. She got a Magsaysay award. So similarly, they said pesticides is a now no wanted division here. I made it into a division where now everybody is proud of it, and possibly they are looking at me. Many youngsters may be looking at me. It's not the division that matters. It's what work you do in the division that matters to take you forward.
If I ask you the last two questions, the first one is, if you had to have a group of youth here all from small towns in Andhra. We happen to have 5 of them actually in our student body right now that are all from small places. They're working okay, but they could use some advice. They're starting their careers very soon. What would you tell them?
Don't fear the external features of dress, stylish speaking, the slang language, intimidates small town people. The same happened to me. So don't worry. Language is not the one that determines who is doing good work. Actual good work only makes you big or made. One. Number 2, you have to work harder than others. The others are already endowed with varieties of social skills, managing bosses, managing this. A timid rural boy will not be able to manage a boss properly. But your work should speak for yourself rather than you speak for yourself. And third is learn the good things like invest in yourself. We have not done it in early part of our careers. How we went forward, we learned. A classic example of it. When I moved into this position, my subordinates came and told me, you should change your wardrobe to a little better one. You are not wearing clothes befitting the position you are in. So you should be able to the ability to ask and take feedback and then implement it quickly so that you will prosper. Don't fear feedback. Feedback will always can be tough, can be surprising to you. And people like me can make it here, they can make it definitely.
Thank you. And my final question to you, if you look at the state of the world right now and youth having much more opportunity to do whatever they like, you've chosen a career based on your own passions and interests and have ended up obviously doing quite well. If someone is starting today as a member going to an MBA program or a PG program that ends up in a professional career, how should they find out what they want to do? And if they don't know?
You see, some people get it naturally. They are good in numbers, so they will move into finance and this sort of things. Others who are not clear as to where they are good at, start somewhere, and initial 4-5 years you should be able to make the transition and course correction, rather than just imitate somebody else and try and do that. There is no point. You imitate a topper who is good in mathematics and he can do a finance and he can get into Merrill Lynch or some of the stuff. You imitate without knowing your strengths, then you will not even get any placement. So best is to don't imitate, keep trying, and then play on the strengths and do the course correction initially. That's a better option rather than don't look at that. Imitation, too much of imitation may not be worthwhile.